So this upcoming series with the Cubs, I think the biggest thing that the Braves are looking for here is another off day. That's kind of nice after 14 straight games in 14 straight days in two different time zones, having to fly across the country and back. I mean, again, it's not excuses for the Braves, but in the early going, they didn't exactly have the homestand they wanted. You knew that the road trip was going to be more challenging, and then you come home, finally have that off day, and you just can't win a couple of games against the Marlins that I think were winnable on Saturday and Sunday. So now you get another off day, and the Chicago Cubs roll into town. You're going to see Marcus Stroman. He's going to be tough, but you got Max Fried on the mound, Mark Leiter Jr. against Charlie Morton, and then Kyle Wright against Drew Smiley, the former Brave. I think this is a series that Atlanta, especially being at home, lines up pretty well. They're going to be facing the lefty in Drew Smiley. They're going to be facing a couple of right-handers, one a little bit more experienced than the others, but you've got to get this offense, I think, on track, and they've got to find a way to get a bit more in terms of runners in scoring position. That seems like an incredibly old school way to look at, things with, analytics being what they are and the way that we can look at and size up every single situation in a game. But when it comes down to it, somebody's got to start coming through with some big hits for this club. You need to get the bottom of the order going on a regular basis. That includes Rosario, that includes Dansby Swanson, that includes Adam Duvall, that includes anybody that they plug in down there, because being able to turn it over to the top of the lineup where you've got Ozzie Albies leading the team in home runs. You got Matt Olson as one of the best hitters in the National League. Austin Riley seems to be on a tear. And we've seen what Marcell Ozuna has done this year. And Travis d'Arnaud, I think, has swung a pretty good bat as well. So the pieces are all there outside of Ronald. You're not going to have him back, I don't think, just yet. But when you do, it would be nice to see some momentum from these guys. And it'll be fascinating to see how they're able to match up when you've got Fried and Morton and Wright, who, right, I think on paper right now, no slight to Ian Anderson. Those are the three guys that you probably look at to be kind of fronting the rotation at the moment. But you want to see Charlie Morton bounce back. You want to see Max Fried build on what was one of the best starts of his career. And Kyle Wright, hey, man, just keep doing what you're doing. Win this series, go back out on the road. The Rangers are a club that's still trying to build, but they spent an awful lot of money over the winter. They've got that brand new double play combination. And I think they're a team that offensively could give the Braves a little bit of trouble in that series. But if the Braves lineup is going, I like them with anybody, particularly once we start talking about when they get number 13 back at the top.
Agree on percent because right now Stroman is at ERA. Granted, he's got the experience. He knows how to bounce back from it. But, that's something where if he's in his own head and he's shaking up, we have to take advantage because he is high fastball, loves that fastball. He keeps it up. That 3, 4, and 5, it's going to be unbelievable for us, especially if you keep d'Arnaud up there at 5, who can hit a fastball. Obviously, with Austin Riley, that's his favorite thing. Something I'm most looking forward to is Smiley in that game 3, because you're going to go somebody Stroman who loves his fastball, Smiley who loves that huge 12-6 curveball. So you're going to have to be more patient, going to have to stay back, and no reason why the Braves shouldn't have a field day against him. The Chop House should be very busy, and I think it's an evening game. In that evening, Matt Olson should have himself a ball because he historically hits left-handed pitchers better than he does right-handed pitchers. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. But granted, Chicago has shown times, obviously, the 21-0 game against Pittsburgh. Granted, Pittsburgh's not as great, but still a major league team, and they go out score. So their offense can pop off at any time. But like what Grant said, we have Fried, Morton, Wright. Nobody else I would want more to jumpstart it, to hopefully get a sweep and go back to 10-10 after the series than those guys. And I think something as well, obviously the tentative date right now is for Acuna to be back home for the start of the Brewers series. But that is tentative. It could be before. And we're seeing it down at Gwinnett. He's having himself a good time. He's batting 416, something like that, above 400. He's still in bed. He looks good. So if it's something where we're capitalizing on that momentum after, a 3-0 sweep, why not take him down to Arlington? I think that could be really good because to me, Ronald is the spark plug. We will not get going. We have that spark plug. The rest of the parts are there. If it's something where Eddie needs to go back from right to left field, get back into his mind. Great. Duvey in center, even at right, flip-flop with Acuna. But no, I think that this would have been like what Grant was saying, Texas. They got Corey Seager. We've seen him. We know what he can do and the damage he can do. And then they're just kind of, I think from there, Texas really try and build around Seager's back. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the next coming years. But that's a me to the team in the AL that I think is going to be fighting, an ALCS spot, going against head-to-head against the Astros. So I think this would be a good test, to get on a roll. And then if you're coming with a full head of steam, why not go into New York and make Chipper proud and keep dominating, Citi Field over there like he did Shea?
For the matchups I'm looking forward to, obviously, it's going to be the first time we see 1, 2, 3 pitch in a series since the Reds. I'm looking forward to see Max Fried in his next outing and see what he can do after that. Charlie Morton should have all the dust knocked off. Everybody's been talking, it's probably going to take 3 starts for pitchers to find it. This will be Morton's 4th start. So I'm hoping that we'll give him some credit because like I know Grant's pointed out several times, he broke his leg back in November. So hopefully he's got his he's ready to go. I mean, he looked pretty good in his first spring outing. As far as his starts, maybe it's just the thought of trying to go 6, 7 innings. Maybe he's overthinking himself, but I imagine that he'll be back on the mound and he's ready to go against this Cubs lineup, who has looked pretty potent, especially with the addition of Suzuki. He's played really well this year. I think probably people are pretty surprised with how he's done. People not knowing really how good he is, but their offenses looked really good. So it'll be interesting to see how our 3 aces, our 3 top starters can go against this offense. And I'm looking forward to at least taking 2 out of 3. I would love a sweep, but just win the series. That's what I'm focused on. Win the series, and then maybe get on a roll. You go into Texas. You've got confidence underneath you. 1, 2 out of 3 going into Texas, and hopefully they haven't named starters for this weekend series, but hopefully they've got confidence. The offense continues to do what they've done the past couple days, and get on a little bit of a roll. Have Acuna at the top of the lineup, and just really just buckle down and show why they've won the NL East the past 4 years.
You almost wonder if, obviously right now the 3 games Texas are TBD. You almost wonder if maybe they might go back with a 6-man rotation in that, because that's towards the end of April going into May 1st. And they're going to go back from 28 to 26. But you go to New York, obviously we won't have our best stuff. And we have a doubleheader on that Tuesday with New York, which obviously from there, we're able to get 27th player if all holds true to last year. So you almost wonder if maybe, Spencer Strider might get that look on that 6th day. Because granted, he almost needs a bounce back from yesterday. Outside of that, he has looked terrific. Now, everybody's going to have their hiccups. It all depends how you're going to bounce back from that hiccup. So I'm almost wondering, Grant, I don't know if maybe you have a little bit more insight, but, could there potentially be that, 6-man rotation going into Texas?
I think with the off days, they might be tempted to go back to the 5-man rotation just because you don't have to use the 6-man now that you finally had a chance to, breathe for a minute and line things up a little bit differently. They'll get the extra pitcher for the doubleheader day. I don't know if that means that, hey, maybe you do give Spencer Strider that start. Maybe in getting that extra starter, you've got Tuki Toussaint, you've got Waskari Noah. I don't know if any of those guys will get a look in those situations, and we'll kind of see as this week unfolds exactly how everybody looks and what might lead into the decisions to have certain guys stay in rotation or get an opportunity in the rotation. But for right now, I think that it probably stays the way that it is, and we see Ian Anderson and we see Bryce Elder in those first couple of games, and then as the calendar turns to the month of May, they're going to lose a couple of spots overall on the active roster, and I would assume those will be pitchers because that's what they've been carrying is the extra pitchers. So some big decisions to be made. I would kind of be surprised, though, to see Acuna in Arlington. I would not be as surprised to see him activated for that series in New York. That's always kind of been in the back of my mind. A great series to have a guy like that back for is the first time you have a showdown with the first place club. At least have some excitement, some juice going, a little bit extra maybe as far as motivation and energy if you're bringing back one of the best players in baseball, which the Braves will be doing. Doesn't guarantee you're going to win all 4 of those games, but man, you have to feel a little bit more confidence and motivation going into that series if you needed any in the first week of May.
And something that I have noticed, and obviously a lot of people point out, is it always seems like whenever Acuna comes back from an injury, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, is on the 15-day IL, he always seems to hit a homer in his first at bat back, which is just completely insane. That just shows how juiced up he is. He's looking for that pitch. So, that wouldn't be a thing going against the Mets, and, comes up, lead up and hits a homer. That's just going to get everybody else excited, riled up. But yeah, that's it. It's one of those things where, when is he going to come back? Everybody, we're just kind of jokingly, we even did it too, where we tweeted him. We said you up if you need him bad against the Dodgers. So it's just, but obviously we got to kind of trust the process and let it go from there.
Yeah. I think you got to let him get his work in. I mean, as exciting as it is to see him doing the things he's doing in Gwinnett, that's who he is. So this is an overall positive to see him playing that way, but just making sure that you see, okay, well, now you've been playing 2, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe without one off, which is the opportunity here over the next week or so to find out, general soreness. How are you feeling? Anything in the knee whatsoever? I would imagine as hard as he worked and as grueling as those workouts were that he was, posting on social media throughout the entirety of the fall of last year and all the way into spring training of this year. This was a guy who I think if he had his druthers wanted to go north with the team and forego any rehab assignment whatsoever, but they are trying to go through the process of just making sure that they don't do anything irresponsible with a guy who's this important to the Braves. And you just don't want to do anything that doesn't put him in a position to succeed with his rehab from this injury so that we don't have to talk and think about any Ronald Acuna Jr. injuries for a while. That's the hope anyway.